In this lecture, we will learn about the functions of the 5 types of circle tools, and I'll demonstrate each one of these. So these are the center diameter circle. We've then got the 2-point circle, 3-point circle, and then we've got the 2 tangent and the 3 tangent circle as well. So I've opened up Fusion, I've started a new part, and as you can see here, input some geometries already. That's going to help me to demonstrate the functions behind each of these circle tools. So let's come up to our creation tools, to the drop down around the circle. We see that the shortcut for the center diameter circle is C. Let's go ahead and hit C on the keyboard. Now, just like the rectangle tool, our toolbox pops up and offers us the different variations of circle tool. I'll put that to the side for now. Let's go ahead and use the center diameter circle. So this is the most commonly used type of circle. So to demonstrate this, I'll use the square that I've drawn in here. And the very first click that we define is the center point of that circle. And as we bring the mouse out, we can start to see the circumference form. We have the option at this point to enter a diameter into the parameters box, or we can snap on to existing geometry. For example, I've drawn this square in place. I could snap on to the midpoint of this horizontal line, or I could even snap on to the corner point of the square if I left click there. So if I left click there, we've then got our circle in position. The next tool we're going to take a look at is the 2-point circle. So if we come over to our box and select the 2-point circle, let's zoom out, pan over a bit. The 2-point circle, the very first point we define is a place on the circumference of the circle. If I left click at the end point of this line here, that's one position of my circumference, and then you'll see the next click, wherever that may be, will be the other circumference. So that will define the diameter. So in this case, I could snap onto existing geometries, or I could just input a diameter. In this case, I'm just going to snap on to the midpoint of this line here. I'll left click there, and there we have our 2-point circle. So the next we have the 3-point circle. So principles exactly the same as the 2-point, except on this occasion, we're actually identifying 3 points on the circumference. So to demonstrate this, if I select, let's say, the endpoint of this line here as one position on my circumference, another point as the endpoint of this line, and I just need to define one more point, which will be the last point of my circle, identifying those 3 points there, and I'll choose the midpoint of this horizontal line, and there we have our complete circle. The next tool to demonstrate is the 2-point tangent circle. So very straightforward to use. This is just where we need to identify 2 points to which our circle will be tangential to. So to demonstrate this, I'm just going to use this B here. I'm just going to select these 2 lines. I'll select the first line, where the circle must be tangential to this line. I'm going to select the second line here, and as we can see, our circle's formed. And we now have the option to move the circle. However, wherever we move it, we are constrained by the tangential constraints to the 2 lines that we identified previously. So here, we can identify radius, or we can just click wherever it needs to be. For example, I just let go there. And now we see that we have these tangential constraint symbols pop up, identifying that this circle is tangential to this line. The circle is tangential to this line here. And that leads me on to the last tool. So I hit C on the keyboard once again, and then we'll move on to the 3 tangent circle. So same principles as the 2-point, except here we just identified 3 points. So I'm going to identify the 3 entities here. For 1, 2, and my third entity is going to be this one here. We've got this preview coming into play, and we can see the position of the circle. So I'll select that entity there. And again, we've got these 3 tangential symbols pop up here, identifying the according constraints. So that's a quick overview of the 5 circle tools. The main ones that we use when modeling are the center diameter circle, and definitely the 2 tangential circle as well. We rarely use the others, but they do come into play depending on what geometry we're working on. I hope that all makes sense, and if you have any questions, please send me a message. But aside from that, I'll see you in the next lecture. I will do some more of the creation tools.